In 2025, I read 240 books, so let's go for my top favorites. Earlier in 2025, I was pretty good about doing like a monthly reading wrap up, but I honestly got lazy and just unmotivated to keep doing it, so I stopped. But my favorite time of the year is here now, and I'm just gonna go over my top favorite books from 2025. I'm just gonna chat a little bit about my favorite books from 2025, but they're in no particular order. So my first two top books from 2025 were Heated Rivalry and The Long Game by Rachel Reed. These two books are part of the Game Changers series, and if you haven't heard of Heated Rivalry, then you're not on TikTok or chronically online. The whole series was really good, but these two books stood out the most to me. They're an MM romance and it rivals to lovers and kind of like a secret, hidden, maybe forbidden romance. It is also a hockey romance, so that adds some sportiness to it. If you haven't heard of these books and you've heard of the show, obviously there's a lot of spice in them, but what really stands out in the books are the inner feelings and thoughts of the characters and more of the story behind what they're feeling for each other and kind of what they go through. So that's why those two books are part of my top favorite lists. If you watched Heated Rivalries but haven't read the book, I totally recommend reading the whole series before the next season comes out. The next book that I really loved was The Fix by Mia Sheridan. I rated it a 5-star. It is a suspense, mystery, kind of like thriller-ish book. There's definitely a lot of trigger warnings going into this book, but the storyline is so like kind of crazy and also like just so good. I love anything written by Mia Sheridan. If you know me or you've seen my other videos or follow me on Goodreads, like I just love Mia Sheridan. A little summary about this book is that the FMC Cammie, when she was younger, her family experienced a very violent attack in their house, and many years later, like 11 years later I think, she gets a threat from an anonymous source, and it relates kind of back to what happened to her, and she gets reunited with a high school acquaintance, and together they kind of figure out how to rescue someone very important in her life without spoiling the book. There's just like a lot of twists and turns of who the antagonist is, who is helping them, and they kind of also like start to fall in love, but the love story isn't the main plot of the story at all. It's like the storyline of who they're trying to save, why they're trying to save him, and stuff like that. The next book that I really loved was Forget Me Not by Stacey Willingham. I rated this one a 4-star, and this one was also kind of like a suspense, mystery, thriller story, and it was crazy. So I can't remember if I read like the summary of the book going into it, but it was not what I was expecting at all, and the twists and the turns and just the outcome was like crazy. A little bit about this book is that the FMC Claire lost her sister when they were like teenagers, and her sister just disappeared. So ever since then, she's been kind of like lost in her world and trying to escape the past in the city. But now she's back in her hometown, and she discovers like a shoebox of her sister's like personal items that she never saw before. And that kind of pushes her to go visit where her sister was last known to be and hang out at. And there she discovers like a journal full of like this young girl's life, and she kind of discovers more of the secrets of the place that she's at and what's kind of going on with the people there. And it's like a cult story, so it was crazy. The point of view is between like Claire in present time and then the girl in the journal in the past, and kind of through the timeline. So it kind of bounces back between past and present, and it's just a really interesting full circle moment with the cult story and who was involved and how they were still running like decades later. So it was just really interesting and had my attention like the whole time. My next top reads are the Playing for Keeps series by Becca Mack. This is a 5-book series, and the first 4 books were all 4-star reads for me, and the last one was a 5-star read for me. I won't go too much into the summaries of each book, but kind of just about the tropes. Their first book is Consider Me, and this one is kind of like a refined playboy. He's a golden retriever. Both of their friends warn them about each other, and they fall in love. The reason why I rated this one a 4-star was because it was a little long and kind of seemed to drag on a little bit, but it was still really good. The second book is Play With Me, and this one is brother's best friend, neighbors, no strings attached relationship, and then they kind of fall in love. Again, a little long, so that's why I didn't get 5 stars. The third book from the series is Unravel Me, and even though I didn't rate it a 5-star, it is one of my favorite books from the series. This one is a single mom, grumpy hockey goalie, but really a big teddy bear on the inside, and their just story is really cute, and yeah. The fourth book is Fall With Me, and this one is reformed playboy, one night stand, forced proximity because of workplace and living together, and again, a little long, but still really good. And finally, the fifth book of the series is Breathe With Me, and this one was the 5-star read. This book is basically just a love story of this couple from when they first met through the present time. They go through some challenges of, getting pregnant, and the story talks about their IVF challenges and kind of like their friendship and marriage throughout this time. And I definitely cried during this book because of how much they love each other and the different ways they showed that they love each other, and just the fact that they stood next to each other through this entire process, and how they surround themselves with their friends and family to support them. And yeah, it was just a great book. So that's why I rated it a 5-star. The next 2 books that are on my list are The Striker and The Defender by Anna Huang. And these are first 2 books of one of her new series. They are soccer/football, however you want to say it, based, and they're really cool. The first book is kind of like an enemy's sister book, and kind of like definitely a forbidden love, forbidden romance. And the second book is enemies to lovers, forced proximity, coach's daughter, crazy stuff. But both are really good. I love Anna Huang's writing, and I can't wait for the next one. The next book is Tourist Season by Bryn Weaver. She also is the author of Butcher and Blackbird, and that trilogy was also really good. But this one was one of my 2025 reads, and this one was funny and crazy at the same time. It's a dark rom-com, and both are also in the business of offing people, and he's tracking her down because she had something to do with his family experiencing some trauma and loss. But then there's some twists and turns, and in this very small coastal town that's known for their mystery and stuff. I don't know, but there's a second book called Harvest Season, and I'm super excited for it, so can't wait for that. This next series I will never shut up about, and will continue to recommend if you are into kind of suspense, but also having romance and some twists and turns. I don't know. I guess that was the theme of my books this year, but the series is called Sparrow Falls by Catherine Cowles, and it is a 6-book series, so definitely on the longer side, but each book is unique in their story, in the couple story, in each individual main character story. It's just crazy. The first book is Fragile Sanctuary, and this one I rated a 5-star. It is a brother's best friend. He's grumpy and quiet, and she has this past that's coming back and threatening her life, and he's kind of protecting her, and they fall in love. The second book is Delicate Escape, and this one I also rated a 5-star. He's a golden retriever, and he falls first and harder, and she's also trying to run from her past, and they fall in love as well. The third book is Broken Harbor, and this one I gave 4.5 stars. It's a single mom and professional hockey player with some suspense, obviously, and they both have some traumatic pasts and they are roommates. The fourth book is Beautiful Exile, and this one I also gave 4.5 stars. This one has best friend sister, forced proximity, billionaire, suspense, and found family. The fifth book is Chasing Shelter, which I also gave 4.5 stars. It has grumpy sunshine, single dad, neighbors / forced proximity, some banter, and found family. The last one is Secret Haven, and this one I give a 5 star. The main characters have known each other since they were teenagers, and it's only ever been each other, but they kind of stayed apart because of circumstances, and they get a second chance later on, and it's also a marriage of convenience. So if any of those tropes interest you, I highly recommend reading this series. I know I didn't give you much but the tropes, because I can't give anything away because it would spoil things. Definitely go into reading these series blind and don't read too many reviews or synopsis of the books, because you just want to not know what's going on because it's so cool. I have another 5-star read, and this one is Alchemized, and if you have not heard of Alchemized, you are also living under a rock. This book is by Senlin Yu, I think that's how you say it. This author is really well known for her fan fiction called Manacled, because that fan fiction was based on a storyline that already existed and can't be copyrighted into a book. She changed kind of a lot of things, kept pretty much the same storyline, just changed the characters' names and the backgrounds and all that stuff, and it turned out to be Alchemized. And this book was 1,000 pages, and all 1,000 pages I was hooked. I couldn't put it down. I don't remember how long it took me, but it didn't take me long to finish it at all. I don't even know how to describe it without giving anything away, but it's definitely a fantasy book, and there's debates on whether or not it is romance or not. I personally think it is kind of like a romantasy, just because the main characters develop a relationship. I definitely think it's a romantasy. I don't know how you can't see it as a romantasy, but to each their own. But anyway, it was a 5-star read, and I totally want to reread it knowing what I know now without giving too much away. But it's something that I think about almost every day, and I'm so excited. I'm pretty sure it has the rights to be made into a series or a movie, so I'm so excited for that, to see how they do that. If you have heard of her Manacled fanfiction, I totally recommend reading Alchemized before you read Manacled, just because Alchemized is its complete old world compared to Manacled, where it's based off of an already existing universe. So yeah, but anyway, totally recommend. I think I did read it in one weekend, so check it out. This next book is also a 5-star. It's Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. It's an enemies to lovers, kind of like a mix between ACOTAR and the Powerless series. I don't really know what to say about this one without giving spoilers either, but it deals with some magic, some fantasy. They're fighting each other. Yeah, there's a second book coming out soon-ish, maybe, I don't remember, but there's a second book and I can't wait for that. My next 5-star read is Releasing 10 by Chloe Walsh, and I read this earlier in the year, so I did mention this in one of my reading wrap-ups, and I did make a separate TikTok video about just me talking about it because I loved it so much. And I read it on my Kindle, but I had to get the physical copy of the whole series just because the whole series is just amazing. I don't know how much to talk about this book because you have to read the other books. This by itself, the characters and the story in this one is heartbreaking and just emotionally heavy. So I totally recommend reading the trigger warnings. If traumatic pasts and current trauma isn't your thing, I would not recommend this series, especially this book, because it deals with very, very heavy topics. But the story, I think, is so well written that you're just so empathetic and with the characters. And yeah, this is the most recent book of the series, and there are rumors and I guess speculation of more books in the series coming out, so I cannot wait for the other ones. This is also another series I will never shut up about. The next book that I really loved this year, specifically in the summer, was One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, and this one is kind of an enemies to lovers, slow burn, banter, neighbors-ish story, and it is the second book in her series, kind of a series. It follows the characters in the second book are part of the first book as well, so you kind of want to read both, but this series is going to be a TV series or movie. I can't remember which, but super excited for that. The next book is a 5-star and is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, and I have no words. I was crying, I was screaming, I was kicking my feet. It was just amazingly written and so well intertwined with her other books, the original trilogy and also Battles of the Songbirds and Snakes. They were all just intertwined so nicely that it just seems like it was meant to be. And I'm so excited for the movie to come out because I'm a huge Elle Fanning fan and McKenna Grace fan, so we'll be excited to watch this. A little bit about this book is, if you're familiar with the original Hunger Games series, Haymitch, the mentor of Katniss, this is his story and what he went through the games, and his games was the first quarter quell, and just the experience that he went through, the loss and the heartbreak he went through, was just you kind of realize why he's the way he is in Katniss' story. If you enjoyed Elsie Silver's cowboy romances, you're also gonna like Lila Sage's Rebel Blue Ranch series. That's a tongue twister. I love this series. It's also a cowboy series. I gave it I think majority of the books I gave 4 stars, and one of them I gave 4.5 stars. The first book in the series is Done and Dusted, and this one is an enemies to friends to lovers, brother's best friend, full of banter and wit story. Second book is Swift and Saddled, and this one is workplace romance-ish, forced proximity, he falls first and harder, and kind of like love at first sight, love at first meet, kind of. He's constructing a new house and she's the designer, and they hit it off immediately. The third book is Lost and Lassoed, and this one is best friend's brother, kind of like enemies to lovers, single dad, a lot of banter, and really fun story. The last book is Wild and Wrangled, and this one is a second chance. He fell first and harder. They're each other's first and last. She's also a runaway bride and a single mom, and also a good story. This next series is an honorable mention. It's The Jacksonville Rays by Emily Rath. I believe I mentioned the first 2 books or something in one of my monthly wrap-ups. I wanted to include the whole series again because there's only one more book left, but the series so far I really enjoyed. The next book series that I really enjoyed this year was the Rose Hill series by Elsie Silver. The first book is Wild Love, and this one I gave 4.5 stars, and it is kind of like childhood frenemies to lovers, and he fell first and harder, and definitely small town cowboy romance, and it's just really good. Love the main character, Ford Grant. We all need more Ford Grants in the world. Just top tier. The next book is Wild Eyes, and this one I also gave 4.5 stars. It is a single dad and a famous singer who is looking to find herself again, and again, great book. The third book is Wild Side, and I think I read this the day it came out. It is a grumpy and grumpier maybe trope, as well as a marriage of convenience, small town obviously still, and just a really funny and full of banter and wit book. The last book is Wild Card, and this one I gave 4.5 stars. It's ex-boyfriend's dad, age gap, forced proximity, slow burn, invisible string theory-ish. It's got a lot packed into it, and this one probably was one of my favorite age gap stories just because it was written so well, and the way they met and their story is just unique. This next book is a 5-star read, and it's part of the series that I started at the end of 2024, and finished at the beginning of 2025. This book is Rewind It Back by Liz Tomforty, and the best, hands down, I think the best second chance romance I've ever read. I was so emotionally invested. That's why I gave it a 5-star, and yeah, that's all I need to say. The next favorite book is King of Envy by Anna Huang. I rated this one 4.5 stars. So this is book 5 of her King of Sin series, and the tropes in this book is definitely heavy on the grumpy sunshine. Emphasis on the grumpy. And he's morally gray, and there's a ton of yearning in it. I'm so excited for the rest of the series. The next series that I really enjoyed this year was the DC Star series by Chelsea Curto, and this one had a lot of hype around it because her female main characters were women of like empowerment and just strong lead female characters. The first book is Face Off, and this one I gave 4 stars. It is a friends with benefits, enemies to lovers, and refined playboy. The second book is Power Play, and this one I also gave 4 stars. It is an extremely grumpy goalie and the team reporter. This story has grumpy sunshine, he fell first and harder, fake dating, and a shotgun wedding. Third book is Slapshot, and this one is a single mom cohabiting / living together. If he wanted to, he would. He fell first and harder, and just so much goodness. It's very wholesome. This one is very sweet. Both are kind of like golden retrievers. The fourth book is Hat Trick, and this one is about an injured player and his physical therapist. He's younger. She makes an exception for him. They said it's only one night, but it's not. And they kind of have like a friends with benefits situation. The fifth book and the most recent book of the series is Sin Bin. It is a grumpy sunshine, 14-year age gap, player's sister. Did I say grumpy sunshine? Because it's grumpy. And she's sunshine. And a one-night stand, and his love language is acts of service. Really good book. Probably one of my favorite single dad, age gap, grumpy sunshine romances. This next book is You Between the Lines by Katie Naiman, and this book I rated like a 4 to 4.5 stars, so probably around like a 4.25 stars. And this one's like an enemies to friends to lovers, and competitive, witty banter. Both are writers and are competing against each other, but also like fall for each other. Really good book. There's another book that I read that is very similar to this book, but I think because I read this book first and because the writing is better, I rated this one higher than the other one. So these next books are all honorable mentions. They aren't books that stood out extremely to me like some of the other books, but they still were really good, and for the majority I gave like at least a 4-star. So the Gold Rush Ranch series by Elsie Silver is my first honorable mention. Again, a cowboy romance. The whole series was really good. The next series is the Dirty Air series by Lauren Asher. It is a F1 sports romance, and the series has a ton of different tropes. And I wasn't really interested in like F1 romance, but that series was really good and recommend. The next series is also by Lauren Asher. It's the Lakefront Billionaire series, and there are 3 books, and definitely recommend. She also wrote the Dreamland Billionaire series, which I think I read either last year or a couple years before, and that one was also a really good series. The next honorable mention is, again, another Anna Huang series. It is the If Love series, and this one I believe was her first series that she wrote before the King of Sin series and the Twisted Love series. This one follows kind of like the same couple for the first couple books and a second chance, and takes place in a different country if that is somewhat interesting to you. My next honorable mention is Revolve by Bal Cabra. I think that's how you say it, and I gave this one a 4-star. Next is Red Card by Maren Moore. This one I gave 4 stars. It's a rugby sports romance, so a little bit different than like hockey or football. Moms of Mayhem is another sports romance by Amy Vance. This one I gave 4-star. The next book is Behind the Bench by Jillian Arley. This one is a hockey romance, and both main characters are coaches and rivals when they were kids. This one was a really good one because the female main character is also like a woman of empowerment and a strong lead female character. Another one of my favorite series is Lucky River Ranch by Jessica Peterson. It's another cowboy romance, so if you like Lila Sage's series and Elsie Silver's series, I definitely recommend checking out Jessica Pearson's series. The series has a total of 5 books. The 5th book is supposed to come out next year, so super excited by that one. The next series is a trilogy, Bourbon Boys by Victoria Wilder. 3 books, obviously it's a trilogy, follows storyline of some bourbon making men, and if you want a little switch up from cowboys, I recommend this one because it gives the same vibes, but they're not cowboys. My next honorable mention is Left Her Forever by Tara DeWitt. This one I gave 4 stars. Next series is The Love and Hockey series by Lauren Blakely. This is a 6-book series, hockey romance, all different tropes, super fun, super cool if you're in the mood for another sports romance, specifically hockey. Another series that I'm giving an honorable mention to is yet again another hockey series, and it is Lakes Hockey by Sloane St. James, and I gave all the books I think around like a 4-star. My next 2 honorable mentions are Saving 6 and Redeeming 6, and these are part of the Boys of Toman series by Chloe Walsh. They are kind of they're in the middle of the series. First, I didn't read these 2 books in chronological order when I was reading the other books, but I did read these 2 books before I read Releasing 10, and I highly recommend reading all the books in order, and all of the books of course, because these 2 books also are really good, and kind of you get insight to the other characters during the same timeline, if that makes sense. Next honorable mention is the Vancouver Storm series. Again, hockey romance by Stephanie Archer, 5-book series, all really good. I think I gave all the books 4 stars or 3.5 4 stars. The Preston Brothers series by Jay McLean is my next honorable mention. The series obviously follows a handful of brothers, and their names all start with the letter L. The next honorable mention is The Co-op by Tara DeWitt. This one I gave 4 stars. If you're looking for a spicy read and something that also has some rom-com in it, totally recommend reading anything by Megan Quinn, specifically the Kane Brothers series. Another sports series that I recommend is Wildcats Hockey by Rebecca Genshak. I think that's how you say her name. This one's 5-book series, all between 3.5 stars to 4 stars that I rated it. My next honorable mention is Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This one I did give a higher 4.5 stars. It is the 3rd book in her Powerless series, and just the book itself, the twists, and it's crazy, it's really good. I enjoyed the series. I did not read the newest book. I can't remember what it's called or what it's about, but I think it's a different POV from one of the earlier books, but I did not read it yet. I don't know if I will. My next honorable mention is Unloved by Peyton Corinne. This book I rated 4 stars. The 1st book in the trilogy is Unsteady, and the 3rd book that has yet to come out is Unbound. And the 2nd book was really good, and I look forward to reading the 3rd book. Finally, we are at my last honorable mention, and it is Out of the Woods by Hannah Boehm Young, and it is a second chance romance that I rated 4 stars. And that brings us to the end of my 2025 top favorite books, along with my honorable mentions. As much as I would have loved to go over all 240 books I've read so far, there's just simply not enough time, and a lot of them are similar storylines and have similar ideas. Like, how many hockey romances did I mention just in this video? Hopefully you found at least a couple books out of this video that you want to add to your TBR. Make sure to follow me on Goodreads at just under my name, Annie Gwine, and I will try to be better about posting more content for 2026. Maybe I'll make a video of my most anticipated 2026 reads. Okay, bye!